Why do we need a new economic theory? Well, that'll become much more obvious when the aftershock hits, which we have spoken about in great detail in this book. Because by then it will be clear that the current economic theory has failed miserably. In order to be useful when it comes to managing our economy, economics needs to become a science rather than a jumble of competing philosophies that it is today. Making it a science is not just a matter of adding mathematics to it, though. We have math and economics today, but just like adding tractors isn't the entire key to improving productivity in agriculture, we need a more fundamental shift in our approach to economics. Not that mathematics isn't important, it is. In fact, it was one of Dave's economics professors at the University of Pennsylvania, Lawrence Klein, who used heavy mathematics to create modern econometrics. Econometric models are mathematical models of the economy, and these models are used every day by businesses and economists to forecast the future of the economy. Klein founded the Wharton Econometrics Forecasting Associates, named for University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business, which was eventually sold to IHS for hundreds of millions of dollars. So econometrics is definitely a step in the right direction towards making economics more scientific. More and better mathematics will certainly be an important part of macroeconomics, especially the use of numerical simulation models, which Dave discusses in great detail. But much more needs to be done at a much more fundamental level for economics to be a science. These fundamental insights are what we will be discussing on this website. And they include a theory of property rights, for example. This is a long neglected part of economic thought. It's generally only dealt with implicitly, but we need an explicit theory of property rights. We also need a theory of information dynamics. This adds the learning process into economic thought and is a key aspect of any evolutionary concept. Consumers and producers learn over time, and this has a profound effect on economics and productivity growth. We also need a theory of the evolution of productivity growth. How does productivity evolve and improve over time, and why? All this put together gives us a good basis for a more evolutionary view of economics, which is important. If we want to make economics truly useful, this is the way we can predict future economic outcomes with much more accuracy as any good science is able to do. This is also the basis for step evolution. Step evolution stands for changes in science, or people's understanding of their environment, force changes in technology, which force changes in their economy, which force changes in their political structure. That's STEP, science, technology, economics, politics, or step evolution. Clearly, there are also interactions between all of those. We also call this the third evolution. That's because it is the third major evolution in our history. The first evolution was the Big Bang and the physical evolution of our universe, without which we couldn't have even had a planet Earth. Then there was the second evolution made possible by having planet Earth, and that's biological evolution, without which we couldn't have had humans. And finally, with humans, we were able to have step evolution, which is the evolution of our society. Without the first two evolutions, that is, without a planet and humans, this evolution of society obviously would not be possible. So it is the third and final evolution. Once you learn a certain way of thinking about the economy, it's hard to change. Think about it. As an economist, you'd have likely built up a lifetime of publications and research based on that method of thinking. Wouldn't you be more than a bit reluctant to throw away all that hard work and credibility and embrace a very different outlook on the economy? In reality, your entire career depends on keeping that current outlook relevant and important. And it's not just economists. Imagine you had spent a lifetime learning the skills of making horse carriages or harnesses. Wouldn't you be a little hostile towards the introduction of automobiles? In productivity, this normal reaction against a new idea is sometimes overcome by a new generation, which doesn't have the same vested interests of the older generation. Also, there's often a big advantage to adopting a new idea to increase productivity. Plus, there is often a lot of money to be made by adopting more productive technologies and methods. For the economics profession, however, these forces for change don't apply nearly as easily. For one thing, the new generation is relatively small. The economics profession is not expanding as rapidly as it was a few decades ago, so there aren't as many new entrants into the field. Also, you really can't make more money in the profession by creating an innovative new idea. In fact, you're much more likely to risk even keeping your current salary by upsetting academic economists. Beyond that are the twin hammers that are crushing creativity and new ideas in academia. The first hammer against creativity is the struggle to get tenure. The second hammer against creativity is the comfort that comes from getting tenure. So let's talk about the first hammer, which comes from diminished opportunities for professorships. That means there's less demand for professorships these days than there was decades ago, and there are more potential students that become professors, so there's greater supply. Lower demand and greater supply means the struggle to get tenure is now so intense that it is stifling creativity. Small mistakes can be very costly in trying to get tenure. The primary goal of a PhD student in economics now has to become basically a disciple of a certain type of economic thinking. This does not lend itself to the creative process. Confronting conventional wisdom in a fundamental way is the key to all scientific discoveries and new scientific theories. This also means making mistakes, but most importantly, it means threatening the current power structure of the academic community. That leads to the second hammer. Once you get tenure, you have a privileged position of economic power. You have a guaranteed job with good pay and relatively low work demands, and a nice pension to look forward to. Like anyone in such a position, you don't want that threatened. You also don't want to threaten other parts of the current power structure and the rest of society that may threaten your own position. In fact, many academics need to do just the opposite. To get funding for a special chair or for a department, academics desperately need to please someone in power who has money to give them. Hence, the two extremes, the struggle to get tenure and the comfort of having tenure, work to stifle creativity, especially creativity that fundamentally threatens the current academic establishment, which again is often the key to any real scientific breakthrough. So these are the two hammers working against a new generation who is trying to create major change in economic theory, especially one that integrates the key concepts of evolutionary development, which really does not fit into anyone's current economic worldview. As we mentioned earlier, the other way of overcoming such opposition to new ideas is to show a benefit to the changes, just like the benefit to any productivity improvement. Unfortunately for academia, that's very hard to do right now because of the bubble economy. The effect of the bubble economy is just the opposite. It encourages the academic community to support current economic theories because the academic community is a huge beneficiary of the bubble economy. Well, once that bubble pops, I love popping balloons, so we're going to do that to emphasize, once that bubble pops, whoa, well, things start to change big time. The current academic community will be crushed in dramatic fashion. Funding for research and think tanks will dry up. Academic staff will have to be savagely cut in order to lower tuition. Universities will be forced to focus very heavily on saleable skills in business and engineering and less on liberal arts such as economics. The crushing of the current academic community will be critical to making it much more open to the new ideas, or to the idea that we need a new economic theory. Far from the current bubble economy that is very rewarding to many academics, we will be an economy where the academic community is taking an outsized beating, worse than much of the rest of the economy in terms of loss of current economic benefits. So popping that bubble will demonstrate in a most dramatic fashion that a new economic theory is needed. The role of this website is to help the academic community with new ideas they can use when the time is right to move economic thought and the world's economy forward in a very dramatic fashion. Over the next few years, we intend to describe our new economic theory and the implications it would have for our economy and economic thought. It will build over time to be quite encompassing of a dramatic new way of looking at our economic world. When the time comes that the academic community is finally looking for new ideas, they'll find a treasure trove of ideas right here on the website. Again, that's one reason the cost for the operation of this website has been funded with a trust for decades to come. As we discuss the implications of our new economic ideas, we'll also describe at each stage why people will not like it, and discuss the psychological, economic, political, and power motivations for the dislike and criticisms. This will help you better understand what is going on in the fight to have a better understanding of our economy. And since economics focuses so heavily on economic, political, and military power, it will likely be particularly controversial. So unlike past scientific controversies, whether it be to better understand that the Earth is not flat or that we revolve around the sun, you will understand much better the reasons behind the criticisms of these new ideas. Needless to say, those critics won't tell you. They really often don't understand the reasons themselves. So we won't just tell you about the theory, but we'll also tell you what the criticisms will be, why they're wrong, and most importantly, what is motivating those criticisms. That will give you more insight into why those criticisms are wrong. This will be a really cool website, especially for economics. We will also eventually have another website that will be dedicated to helping students and economics teachers better understand these new economic ideas. Here's looking forward to the future of a much better understanding of the world around us, and a whole lot of fun. Cheers.